Well, good Thursday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. This morning we are on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. See my two young, handsome people that have joined us on this program. I'll introduce you right now. First of all, my name is Colin Worthington. My guest sitting to my right, we have Herb Cranford. He is currently the district attorney for the Coweta Judicial Circuit, which is comprised of Carroll, Coweta, Heard, Meriwether, and Troup counties. We'll talk a little bit more about that leading statement here in just a second. And Lara Todd, she's the senior assistant district attorney for the whole district, right?
Yeah. For the Carroll office. I manage the Carroll
city
office.
City manager, but manager for the Carroll. Yeah,
yes,
the Carroll
for
County
the Carroll
office.
DA's
Fair enough.
office,
Both of you kind enough to join us here. As I kind of alluded to at the end of this year, Herb Cranford will no longer be the district attorney representing Carroll County, and was it Heard County as well?
Heard County, correct.
They are breaking off. And let us start off with how we got to that point. I mean, I can think of writing stories the last 10 years about, district attorneys having concerned about the caseload of these 5 counties. And then even when you joined office in 2018, that was one of the first things that you talked about, Herb. We talked a lot about then. And now all of a sudden this year, it just seems like everybody got on board and we're making it happen. It'll take place at the beginning of next year. We're waiting on the governor to appoint somebody. I'll talk about that whole process. But, man, we can do the whole show just on how we got here to this point. Take us back to what was the issue? When did it start being discussed? And how have we dealt with it in the last 10, 12 years?
Yeah, as I understand it, the circuit split was discussed well before I even joined the DA's office. I graduated law school, joined the DA's office in 2012, and I think it was a topic of conversation back then. I think Sheriff Langley was supporting it that long ago. And then I became DA in 2018, as you said. And once I looked at the issue and talked to people like the sheriff and multiple sheriffs and different people, it just made sense to me. I mean, long story short, out of 50 DA's offices, we had the 4th highest felony caseload in the state and the number 5 population when I was DA. And that's still the case today. And, when you're that big, it doesn't make sense to continue to be a multi-county circuit. There's a reason the other biggest DA's office are all single county offices. And so, I decided to come out in support of it. And we had kind of an ongoing conversation in the circuit about that. Some county commissions started doing resolutions asking for it to be split.
I think Coweta might have done it first, right? The biggest.
Troup was the first, then Meriwether, and Carroll and Coweta kind of were discussing it during that time as well. But yeah, over time, kind of more and more people decided it was a good idea. And this year we got legislation proposed, and it was proposed in the Senate. Senator Brass, who I think represents half of Carroll County, was one of the sponsors, along with Senator Robertson out of kind of the Troup County area. They were the initial sponsors, and were able to get it done.
So the issues, I don't think we touched on we talked about it. It's one of the largest districts, but what does that result in? What does that do to the district attorney's office?
I think there were 2 primary reasons in light of that. One is just the ability to manage, and that relates to, I think everybody believes in the principle of local government, right? There is value in, right now I'm the DA of like 300 something thousand people, close to 400,000, right? All those people have one DA. After the split, there's going to be, whatever the population in Carroll and Heard is combined, 135, 140, so those people will necessarily have more access to their elected DA, and that DA is going to be managing 2 offices, and, we had the 4th highest felony caseload. Well, one person can only pay attention to so many cases. So there's value in a smaller circuit and that DA being able to put hands on cases and manage the office. The second thing is the resources provided to the DA by the state of Georgia. So there's a formula, and that statutory formula, frankly, doesn't give sufficient funding, in my opinion, to any DA to run their DA's office, but it's kind of a starting place. The state gives you a certain amount of dollars, and then the counties have to help out, right? So now, instead of that state funding being spread over 5 counties, that same formula is going to give funding to Carroll and Heard, and then the leftover circuit of Coweta, Meriwether, and Troup. So we're essentially doubling the state dollars coming into this same 5-county area. And that's money that's not going to have to come from, county residents, property taxpayers.
Yeah, I think that'd be a concern. We're going to pay, now that this split, and Carroll County going to pay more for taxes or anything like that.
And I don't mind telling you, whichever circuit was that coming out of the split was going to be the smaller circuit, in this case, Carroll and Heard, they're going to disproportionately benefit from the state resources. So like the same formula that's funding Coweta, Troup, and Meriwether is funding Carroll and Heard. And so come January, the Carroll Heard office is going to be in a lot better shape resource-wise.
Over the last 12 years, I'd say obviously with COVID there was some backlog, but was that a big issue too? I mean, were you like,
huge
cases, if they're going 2 years, I think 2 years is enough to have somebody concerned, if it's going any longer, but that had to be a big issue too.
Huge issue, and that's still an issue. And at the end of the day, it's lawyers that resolve cases both on the defense and prosecution side. And, we currently just don't have the number of people in the office to catch up. We're barely keeping our head above water, with what we have coming in, just like not getting worse, And so if we want to catch up from the backlog COVID gave us, adding people to the office is absolutely necessary. And this additional state funding is certainly going to help with that.
How hard is it to add people to the office overall and to maintain them?
Yeah, there's a problem with, if we got 10 positions at current salaries, I don't know that we could fill 10 positions. We're not getting the resumes to fill those positions. So, there's the number of positions you have, which the circuit split's going to help out with. Another issue entirely is, are we paying those positions enough to fill them? So like I'm the budget chair for the DA's Association. And so, I participate in the discussions at the Capitol with legislators about what are the salaries for the state-funded positions we have. We're trying to increase the prosecutor pay scale from starting at $60,000, which it is now. We want it to start at $72,000 because it's just not competitive right now.
What does that compare to the rest of the states? Because, it does seem like it, it's a decent bit of money, but it does seem like it's a little low for that kind of position.
Yeah.
But obviously our officers, our police, our law enforcement seem low as well. But
right. I think everybody in public service deserves to be paid more. And that's difficult because it's tax dollars, but talking to prosecutors in other states, and this is kind of an anecdotal, I can't say I've looked at some kind of study, but from what I've heard and gathered, other states are paying better. Yeah. And, and obviously you can do way better in the private sector. People that want to be in prosecution do it because they believe in it. They're passionate about it. But at the end of the day, somebody's got a family, they've got student loans. If they can make $30,000 more dollars in the private sector, it's really hard to stay in prosecution just because you're passionate about it. You got kids, And
that $30,000, that's probably you're probably squinting that number a little bit, right? You can do I'd say you do significantly better in the.
Frankly, they can make $30,000 more if they go to a DA's office in Atlanta, but particularly in the private sector, probably at least $30,000 better. Yeah.
All right. Herb Cranford, Lara, Todd with the Carroll County District Attorney's Office on our program this morning. Before we do take that break, that split, Carroll and Heard, is it called the West Georgia? Is it going to be called the West Georgia
Judicial Circuit? Yep.
Okay, and that'll start officially in theory January 1st. And hopefully by that time, a judge will be appointed. We'll talk about that process and what you guys know about that when we do come back from our first break. If you're watching us on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, I do encourage any questions or comments, and I'll take a look-see there during the break and share them with our guests. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
The AP Scholar Journey at Oak Mountain Academy is designed to provide students with a clearly defined advanced placement curriculum track to earn a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically prepared students to pursue college-level studies throughout 17 AP courses in 5 subject categories while enrolled at OMA. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. Again, my name's Colin Worthington. Lara, Todd, and Herb Cranford, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, talking about the split of the District Attorney's Office. We'll leave three counties in the Coweta Judicial Circuit and 2 counties in what we're calling now the West Georgia Judicial Circuit. The new District Attorney has not been picked for that yet. And that'll be reportedly appointed by Brian Kemp sometime this year. We'll talk about that process. I do see your question on there, Quasi, and I'll share them. I have a good idea which case in particular you're talking about, but I will ask them about that. Let's get back to the process of, replacing her as our district attorney. What do you know about that process? How long is it going to take? And I guess what do you think your responsibility is going to be in maybe training or assisting that person get into to where they're comfortable and know what they're doing to start out the new year.
So the law that created the circuit split says the circuit starts in January. So the new DA will not have authority until January, even if they're appointed tomorrow. Mm-hmm. The governor could wait until next year to do it. I've communicated to the governor's office that it would be very helpful if that person could be appointed this year, so that they would have some months to sit down with me.
Yeah, typically, when you think about your appointing judges, when he does that, we've had 3 or 4 judges appointed over the last several years, and it seems like it happens in late November or December typically. So I don't think we'd want that for the new DA. So I said the sooner the better.
The sooner the better. Certainly, they're very busy, obviously. Mm-hmm. So this is one of many things that office has going on for sure. But yeah, the new DA having time to sit down with me, learn the budget, talk about personnel, learn about cases. There's some very serious cases that it would be better for them to have some run time to learn about the case, decide how do they want to continue to handle it the way we've been handling it. They want to handle it differently versus just taking over in January and all this getting dumped on them at one time. So, having some run time for whoever the new DA is, I think would be very valuable to the office and the community.
And is it a process of you just sending in a letter if you're interested in? You send a letter into the Kemp or maybe another committee and say, "Hey, consider me to."
The way it worked when I was appointed, and as I understand it, the way it's worked with other DAs, unlike judges, there's not, a judicial nominating committee. There's not a DA nominating committee. So I think the governor's office is likely to put out, formally say we're seeking applicants for the DA position. Anybody interested, such as Lara, would apply, fill out an application, and then the governor could decide to just pick a person. Probably the governor's office will interview multiple people and then make a decision.
And you think they take recommendations too? Is it just like a...
Yeah, typically, this governor's office is very good about communicating with interested people in the community about appointments. If they're interested in my opinion, I'll give it. But, I imagine they'll talk to, people in law enforcement, county commissioners, certainly the local legislative delegation, to kind of get a sense of, what does the community think about the candidates, in addition to their own kind of analysis of each candidate.
Time right now is 8:45. Community Voice program brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. I'm sure you've obviously talked with your staff, or they've heard about the district split.
Oh, yeah.
How are those conversations, and your interest as well? As far as going to the next district, how is that decided? Who would go with you into that 3-county district, or who would stay here? Is that decision ultimately going to be made by the next district attorney?
Well, I'll say this and then leave some of this answer to Lara, but. Whoever the new DA is necessarily going to have to make their decision about who's in their office. And that's part of why I would like the new DA to be appointed before January, so that me and that person hopefully could sit down and engage in a confidential conversation about all the personnel and have meetings hopefully with everybody in the office about, who wants to stay, if anybody wants to go, and try to get all that worked out in as fair a way as possible for all the good people we have in the office. I don't expect whoever gets this appointment there to be some kind of sea change. I think we're running a good, competent office, and they would be smart to keep it intact. What everybody's thinking in the office, or what Laura's thinking specifically, is she's probably better to answer than me on that.
You gonna put that out there for us, Laura? What do you consider?
Well, I think one of the big things, like Herb said, is the importance of having those conversations earlier, being able to have those conversations early. Whoever gets the appointment, obviously, because being in a 5-county circuit, a lot of our ADAs have the ability to live in other counties that they're not prosecuting in. And so some of those individuals may be interested in moving to this circuit as a new circuit, or moving, staying with Coweta when the split happens, and being able to kind of have those conversations and figure out if that's feasible for both circuits. As far as our office specifically is concerned, most people are not that stressed out about it. I mean, we're all familiar with the people who have openly discussed wanting to be considered for the position. I think everybody feels pretty comfortable with who those people are, and with the potential of them being appointed. And so I think everyone in the office, for the most part, feels pretty confident and secure in being in the office. But they all have we want to know who it is, because you want to know how that leadership's going to go. Obviously, if I'm lucky enough to have the appointment, they have some security in that, because they know what my leadership is like, because I've been running the office for several years now. And so everybody kind of has that comfort with me. If one of the other 2 people who are interested get appointed, they've also worked with them. So I don't think that there's a whole lot of fear in those individuals, or, this huge unknown. But there might be some policy changes. Things might be done a little bit differently, because people run things how they feel comfortable and how they think is best. And so having the ability to have somebody come in a couple of months before January to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What are some things that you guys think are good? What are some things that you guys think are bad? I think would just help put everybody at ease. But honestly, we have so much work. Everybody just kind of focuses on how do we get through this day? How do we get through this week? How do we deal with the cases that we have now? They don't really have time to deal with what's it going to be like on January 1. Not right now, anyway.
And what are the qualifications to be appointed? You just have to live. I mean, obviously you have to have the education and the experience, but as far as you just had to live in the county and to live in the district?
Yeah, I think by statute you have to live in the circuit. Mm-hmm. I think you have to have been a barred lawyer for 3 years. Have to be like a citizen. There's
barred
things like
lawyer.
that.
I mean, it sounds like even banned.
Right.
You don't want a banned lawyer. Let me ask you this question before we do take
Sure.
our break. Quasi Hudson, he is a candidate for District 71 State House. I don't know if this will affect any kind of legislation he'd consider in the future, but did ask about the DA's reasoning for giving a woman 15 years of probation instead of jail time. In addition, he wants to know why 30 charges were combined into 2 charges. I suspect he's talking about the case of alleged as an embezzlement or theft from a local nonprofit. Young woman that gets recently sentenced within the past month or so.
And I think given that she's pled guilty at this point, it's no longer alleged. But her name is Jody Goodman. She was charged and pled guilty to stealing money from a local nonprofit organization that she was, I guess, the executive director of. Mm-hmm. And, when we look at every case, and I'll try not to be too long-winded about this, we look at what did the person do and how egregious was it? How harmed were victims? And this was egregious. She was in a fiduciary position and stole, between $20,000 and $30,000. I don't remember the exact amount. We look at their criminal history and we look at, whether they take responsibility or not. I determined, and I'll explain this in more detail, given all those factors, it was appropriate to offer her straight probation, if she agreed, to pay restitution, because in part she was taking responsibility instead of going to trial and, making us use resources to prove it and basically saying, if you can prove it, I'll take responsibility. If she had gone to trial, we would have sought incarceration. So she really helped herself out by taking responsibility early. And that was important to me in this case because I do think the organization she was working for was doing a lot of good in the community. They were really helping people with mental health issues. I think it's been very valuable to Carroll County. If you talk to people in law enforcement that have worked with that entity, I think it's been very helpful.
Yeah, there's a program where they do work together.
Yeah, and so as long as this case drew out, that organization was going to be frozen. So I think there was value to Carroll County to get this conviction as soon as possible, assuming we could get an appropriate sentence, which I think we did, so that the community would know the thief was held responsible. This organization could make the internal changes it needed to make sure this never happened again, and hopefully continue doing the good work it's been doing in the community. A substantial factor was she had no prior criminal history. If we looked at her criminal history and she had stolen something before or had something like that, I think, good chance we would have sought some incarceration on it. But this person had no prior criminal history. The judge chose not to give her first offender treatment, so this conviction is going to be on her record for the rest of her life.
And is that just the big difference? In first offender? They did seek first offender, but that'll just be on her record now. Is that basically what that means by not getting?
If the judge had given her first offender, once she completed probation, it would be restricted, so the public would not be able to see her record. If she applied for a job, they wouldn't see this conviction. Because the judge did not give first offender, any job she applies for, they're going to be able to see this conviction. And and that's, for somebody that's never been convicted before, that's a serious consequence. I want to say, I talked to people in the community that wanted her to be incarcerated. I don't think they're being unreasonable in having wanted that. I think that's a fair view of this case, that she deserved to be incarcerated. All I can say is, in considering all those factors, I thought it appropriate to offer her straight probation. In terms of there being 30 charges versus 2,
allegedly there was at least 150 incidents.
Right. And so, for a theft to be a felony, it's got to be over $1,500. Most of her purchases were under that. Right. So if we would have charged them individually, a lot of those would have been misdemeanors with a maximum of 12 months. Right. So we broke it down into years. She did this over 2 years. So we did one count for, essentially 2022, one count for 2023. And that's not unusual. We typically consolidate thefts if somebody does it, multiple thefts, and so, I accept any criticism about the sentence we agreed to, but I thought it was appropriate. I thought that was the right thing to do. And I do want to point out, the easiest route for me to have taken on this case would have been, I'm not going to be DA of Carroll County come January, and I'm just not going to touch this thing and let somebody else handle it. And I could have avoided probably all this criticism, but making difficult decisions and getting criticized for it is part of the job of the DA. And if I had done that, it would have hurt Carroll County, in my opinion, because this organization has done good work. And my hope is they can, correct the issues that allowed for this and continue to do that good work. And if I had punted on this, they would have been waiting at least until January to try to move forward.
All right, Lara, Todd, and Herb Cranford, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program with the current Coweta Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office. We'll come back. Only have a couple minutes left. You did say something in there about waiting. You could have waited till the end of next year, which gave me an idea for another question, and that may be all we have time for when we come back. We'll come back with about 3 minutes. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System at Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
The customized academic scholar journey at Oak Mountain Academy is individually designed to provide students with a personalized, clearly defined academic track that earns the student a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically driven students to pursue a focused, rigorous course of study personalized to their wants and desires. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
856, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice. My name's Colin Worthington. My guest this morning, Herb Cranford and Lara Todd with the Coweta Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office. 5-county district right now. It will be a 3-county district beginning January of next year. Us living in Carroll County and Heard County will be in a new 2-county district. Do you have any idea on how many cases that'll be? Estimate how many cases that's going to end up splitting up, and how many cases a new DA will start the year with?
So typically in Carroll County, we receive 1,300 to 1,500 felony cases a year to review. Heard County is much smaller.
Good old Heard County.
It's a smaller population, and they're generally pretty law-abiding in Heard County. And so I think, less than 2,000 felonies a year, certainly in this, the Carroll Heard office. Yeah, it'll be very manageable, I think. Okay,
and grand jury coming up, anything? What's on the immediate schedule for you guys?
We do grand jury once a month, but until the case is closed, I don't like talking about it.
And I still ask you every time.
That's all right. That's all right.
The answer. All right, guys. As we close out, we got 2 minutes. Anything you want to say? You want to say hi to mom or husbands or wives?
I'd be very. I know we had a Democratic candidate ask us a question. I'd be curious to know his view on our policy that we seek prison time for everyone we charge under the Georgia Gang Act, and I'd be curious if he knew from 2017 through at least 2022. Last time I checked the numbers, our office sent more people to prison than any other DA's office for Gang Act convictions. And I'd be curious if he supports our
All right, Quasi,
action.
when you're on the program, October or November, that'll be a question, so you got time to check that out. Guys, Lara, it's nice to meet you.
It was very good to meet you as
Herb,
well.
Herb, good to see you again, and perhaps we'll see you in the coming years. And,
I hope so.
And we're done with Herb, though. Once he's gone, once he's out of
I'll be happy to come back whenever you want. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, guys, thank you for watching this morning's program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I don't believe I have a guest scheduled for tomorrow, so again, I'll throw out the opportunity to anybody watching, if you have an event coming up or an issue you want to discuss, unless you're a political candidate. Had enough of you guys for the last 4 months. We'll wait until the general election to bring you guys back on the program. But anyway, thanks for watching this morning. If there's, again, any questions or comments, I'm sure if you post them to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, because a lot of people do watch these programs later on in the day, feel free to post it up there, and perhaps you guys can take a look at them and answer those questions. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday.